Here's other people rising up. New Hampshire. We got to get these numbers. What the hell's going on in New Hampshire? I mean, Nikki Haley says it's a race between two people after she took third place in Iowa.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know how anybody can claim that it's a two-way race after you get third place. I mean, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. I don't know where she's getting that from. I mean, it's not like DeSantis had a standout performance in Iowa. There's no doubt about that. He didn't come out looking great. Nikki Haley was just barely behind him. So she does have a point there, but what's her idea now? She wants to basically make everybody forget about DeSantis. She wants to make him irrelevant. That's why Nikki Haley is refusing to debate DeSantis, because she doesn't want to give him any more oxygen. She doesn't want to take any more attacks. And she knows that if DeSantis gets any kind of media attention in New Hampshire, he's going to be eating mostly out of her numbers. So, Dawson, let's go ahead and pull up some of these numbers here. So go ahead and pull up the 2023 poll that's on line 9. Because what I wanted to show was this is an interesting... go ahead and scroll down there, Dawson, and it's going to be on page 1 of that. So right there. Yep, so those were what the results were back in January of 2023. As you can see, Ron DeSantis was in the lead in New Hampshire at that time in 2023. 42%, followed by Donald Trump at 30%, and then Nikki Haley at 8%. So as you can see, back in January 2023, the Republican primary was a whole different picture. It was completely different.
Do you remember if Nikki was in the race at that time?
You know, I can't remember when she announced.
You know what? I don't think DeSantis was either, because we reached out to see if DeSantis wanted to come into Minnesota. We would have headlined him at a Christmas event in 2022. Mm-hmm. So either he announced right away in January, or they could kind of see the writing on the wall, because, let's be honest, these guys aren't quiet.
Right.
But they got Liz Cheney up there too, so they thought maybe she was getting in.
Right, yeah, and I'm just looking at it now. Nikki Haley apparently announced her campaign for president in February, so this poll was about a month before then. But she was at 8%, and like I said, Ron DeSantis at 42% at the time. He was considered to be the alternative. And but let's go ahead and look at what's gone on very recently, one of the most recent polls for 2024. Line 10 there, Dawson, on the sheet. And what we'll find here is that the race is a completely different picture, and it's going to be on page 2. Yep, question number 9 there. I'm not sure if you're able to zoom in there at all, but it's a completely different picture. As you can see there, Trump is now over 50%, while DeSantis is down to 5.2?
Yes.
5.2, and then 33.8% for Nikki Haley. So that means that this entire race is flipped on its head, where Trump is now up 20 points from where he was just 1 year ago in this Republican primary. DeSantis is down something like, what was it? So he's down 17 points. Nikki Haley, she's up, but that's only because a lot of the DeSantis voters have lost faith in him, so they've moved over to Nikki because she's the new never-Trumper. But I don't think that Nikki Haley has any kind of chance there, because a lot of these polls underestimate the turnout that Trump has had. If he's already at 50% in this poll here, I imagine he's probably looking more like that 50 to 60 point range. There has not been a single poll where Nikki Haley is leading on Trump. There's been one fake poll out there that has them both tied at 40%, but there isn't a single poll that shows Nikki Haley leading.
That poll, because that wasn't the one in the thread this morning.
Maybe.
Yeah, that one's fraudulent.
Right. And that
Dawson, I put on line 11 the Real Clear Politics average. I think we should look at that to kind of get reference here, because this is a good job, Jesse, and I like the fact you referenced where it was a year ago, because that's really good context. Mm-hmm. But I mean, even the most recent polls. Which one was that one? The one you were looking at on the NBC website? What did it say, Dawson? Go back to that. I'm just wondering if Real Clear's got that. As I see the timeline is 116. Go all the way to the top. Is that the top? Oh, there it goes. It
yeah,
says
Boston Globe,
PRC,
NBC
Boston
10.
Globe. Yep, it's in here. Although this is Trump at 50. Did that one say?
Yeah, that one was 50.
Thursday. Okay, so go back to Real Clear Politics. So you can see Trump. He's got a 12.8 average spread as of now. But if you look at the most recent 3, it averages out to over 14. And you could see this real clear when you go down to the graph, you could see. So Haley has been climbing. Everyone knows that, but Trump climbed as well out of Iowa. That's why Iowa matters, right? Is you get some momentum. Haley, in my opinion, is not going to win New Hampshire.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
So when it comes to this kind of thing, the pattern that I'm noticing is like, look at this massive jump in Haley. That looks like a rise that could be consistent, but Trump has stayed plateaued like this pretty much the whole time. Does that matter, or is that just whatever?
What that says to guys like us, and you see where the time frame is, it's probably around September. It's a shift in the campaign strategy. So they start going all in. I mean, Ron DeSantis didn't put effort into New Hampshire. Ron DeSantis went pretty much all in on Iowa. He put a big ground game. I think he spent the most amount of money. Not most amount of time. Vivek, I think, wins on that. That's why Vivek had to get out because, quite frankly, he went to 99 counties twice.
Yeah.
So
Can't win more than 7.5% doing that.
So is that symbolic of how Trump hasn't really done anything campaign-wise?
No, he's been doing some rallies and everything. I mean, but Nikki Haley, she's been obsessed with New Hampshire. She's been going to all these different town halls. That's where all of her energy and all of her focus is. She got endorsed by the Rhino governor there, Chris Sununu. So she's got a lot of the backing of the establishment within New Hampshire. But also another thing that I'm seeing in New Hampshire, some of the Rhino establishment types are also falling in line behind President Trump because they understand that Trump is going to win. So a lot of these Rhinos are opportunistic. They're siding with Trump just when they realize that I better get on board or I'm going to get run over. So there's some of that happening where I think some Rhinos are going to vote for Trump out of fear, which is fine. However they're voting for him, I'm fine with. But like I was showing though, from a year, Trump is up 20 points from where he was in January of 2023. That means that he has built the case. He has rebuilt the MAGA movement because obviously there were some people who were skeptical of him that were looking at Ron DeSantis. But Ron DeSantis is down to 5% here. How does somebody go from 42% down to 5%?
Because I think it's literally the campaign doesn't give New Hampshire any chance. Like they basically don't have the assets and the resources there. That's how it happens.
Right. And, one big thing about Iowa that was so interesting, because we know DeSantis poured all of his money into there. He spent $4,200 per vote he got.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. That's the worst campaigning I've ever heard in my life. Usually campaigns you hear him say, oh, we spent maybe $5 per vote or something like that. But see, for him to spend $4,200, I mean, it shows that people just don't like you if you have to spend $4,200 per vote.
I don't know if that's necessarily the case. It's just that he's trying something that's impossible. The only way his strategy would have worked is if Trump literally didn't have the influence he's got. But he's trying to straddle both sides. See, Haley's, she's not as adamant about this as Chris Christie, but she's clearly the never Trumper guy, right? That's why Rand Paul's got the never Haley or never Nikki, whatever it is. So, there's only so many lanes you can run into, in people's minds, right? Usually it's the typical establishment lane and the outsider lane. Well, in this case, Trump's like the establishment. He's got the established vote, the largest faction, right? She's going the real clear, policy-wise establishment. She's going the never Trump, the big government Republican, especially when it comes to war efforts.